All right, Bellringer. Here we go. So list and describe the 3 different types of blindness that we went over in class yesterday. So come up with examples for each. There we go. All right, so let's go over this real quick. Let's go over this. So let's describe 3 different types of blindness we went over, give examples. What was one type of blindness we went over yesterday? What's one? Sarah, what do you have?
I said the inattentional blindness,
Yeah.
failing to see objects or attention.
Yeah, good job. So when our attention is directed elsewhere, and what example did you use for this?
I said like in the video, because we focus on them throwing the ball, so you didn't really notice them. And he was
Yeah, good job. Good job. You called them out right away, though. Right?
yeah, because I was focusing on the ball.
You were waiting for it. Yeah, so the video we watched yesterday with, the gorilla coming in when we're trying to count the number of times the ball is being passed between the people with white shirts, right? And this gorilla walks in and pounds his chest. And for some people, they may have not seen it, right? They may not have seen it, but because your attention was focused on the ball being passed. All right, good job. What's another one? What's another one here? Campbell, what do you got?
Change blindness.
Yeah, what's that?
Failing to see a change in the environment.
Yeah, failing to see a change in the environment. What example do you use for this?
I said a card trick.
A card trick? Okay, good. So magicians always using the setting around people to maybe make some changes people might not see or might not perceive right away. So another example, maybe in my room anyway, in the classroom, let's say I put something on the bulletin board. You may not have seen it right away, right? May not have understood that there was a change in that environment, change in that setting. And it could be as small as literally moving a binder or book in a different location where it's usually located. All right, actually, I just changed these books. They were here at the whole time. I moved them over here onto this table, so I have some more room. I don't know if you noticed it. Oh, there we go. Yeah. All right, what's the last one here we went over? Hannah? Yeah, what's that?
Failing to notice change. It's like taste test.
Yeah. So they do those games a lot where there might be, a change or something different. You need to find the differences within the pictures, and they'll put them right beside each other, and you have to find maybe some items or different things within the picture that are different. I don't know if you guys ever played games like that. It's almost like I Spy in a way, but you got to find the different types of figures or different types of objects that are missing or maybe involved in the other picture that are not in the other. So that's a good example. I know a lot of people play those games. All right, good. Is there any questions on the types of blindness we went over yesterday? Good. All right, so vocab. How about we have our vocab due for the test Tuesday? How about for Monday? We get the vocab done for Monday. The study guide, I'll have that out for you tomorrow, so you can have it over the weekend. We're gonna do it the same thing as last time, where you can just use it as a guide to help you. You don't have to turn it in or anything. It's just for understanding what's going to be on the test. All right, sound good? All right, moving on. How about you guys open your books up to page 223, and I'd like you to read Exploring Psychology, Trying to Catch a Fly. It's a little weird, I think, but I think you'll enjoy it. And then just read until page 226. I'd like you to stop there. And you can stop right before you get to subliminal perception. We already talked about subliminal messages there already. So you're going to read 223, perception. I'd like you to read that little section, Exploring Psychology, and then read 224, 225, and then finish up on 226 before you get to subliminal perception. All right, now you guys read that. Check it out. The poor frog, exploring psych. Wait till you read about it. Oh, I feel like this is really unethical to do to a frog. Poor frog. All right, you guys good? All right. What do you think of the frog exploring psychology? That poor frog getting its optic nerve severed and then just grows back a new one. Unbelievable. And then they tilt the eye over. Oh my gosh, I can't believe that's unethical. Can't believe they do that to that poor frog. All right, so today we're going to talk a little bit about illusions, okay, and the laws of Gestalt psychology. We talked about Gestalt psychology in the beginning of the year, well, I guess the semester, and we talked about how what Gestalt psychology was, but we didn't get into many of the principles. So today we're going to talk about that, and just have a short reading for you about culture and how places and places, all cultures all around the world, they might visualize certain things differently than us here in the United States. Okay, and how some things might be perceived differently. I think you guys will enjoy it. So illusions. All right, we all know what illusions are, and this is how our mind sometimes may play tricks on us, and how we might not be able to perceive certain things depending on what we're looking at. Okay, and I'm going to go through a few illusions with you today, which some of them are pretty easy to pick out, but some kind of mess with our visual perception. I'm sure you guys heard of the Herman grid before, and different types of other illusions that you can see with if the objects may look a little off in certain cases. I don't know. I always throws me off whenever I put a pencil in water. The pencil always just juts away, and we think that the pencil's actually split in half when it's really not. It's just throwing our perception off. All right, but illusions, okay, is how we, when our mind interprets an image that is demonstrated incorrectly. And here's an example of one of the illusions, a Herman grid. Okay, so stare at the center of the grid. Note how dark fuzzy spots appear at the intersections of the white bars. Okay, I don't even have to focus at the center of the grid. I already see, some of these intersections turning black and how they become fuzzy after a while. They are white. We know they're white, but when we stare at it, and even if we kind of glare at the parts of the screen, these fuzzy parts and the dark circles actually appear over the white intersections. You guys see that? Isn't that weird? They call it mini blind spots. Okay, mini blind spots. And what's a blind spot again? You guys remember? Where's light traveling to? What part of the eye? You remember the anatomy of the eye? Yeah, the optic nerve, right? And so there's no photoreceptors there. But in this case, actually cones have somewhat of a direct line to the optic nerve. Okay, they can send these photoreceptors, that information, neural messaging, to the optic nerve. Okay, rods do not, right? Rods don't. And they don't have that direct line and neural message to the optic nerve like cones do. So that's what creates this illusion for us, right? And they call it mini blind spots in a way. I think that's interesting. The Herman grid. Herman grid. So I don't even have to stare at the Herman grid like directly in the middle to see those dark spots appearing over those white intersections. They just appear for me when I just when I just look at the screen in general. Even if it's in my peripheral vision, I can still see some of those white spots turning black. Gamble, do you see that? The black spots appearing? Yeah. Sarah, you too? Yeah, oh man, illusions. Crazy. All right, so how illusion works. The reason for illusion lies in the way that receptor cells and a visual pathway interact with each other. That Herman grid, like I said, is really interesting how it creates many blind spots, especially with the rods and the cones, how they work together, and somehow maybe how our rods maybe are blocking out that signal to the optic nerve. So firing of certain cells that are sensitive to light-dark boundaries inhibits other cells that would detect the white lines. This blocking process makes you sense darker regions. Herman grid. So again, I think that's interesting, especially with the receptors of how we visualize and perceive these messages being sent to our optic nerve, and obviously being processed in our occipital lobe. All right, so here are other illusions that might cause us to perceive as different. So here's one. Condor illusion. So the line, it looks like it's split, right? It looks like it's split. That one that's kind of going through that rectangle. And we all know it's not. But when we visualize it, when we look at it, it looks like it's almost two different lines that are being intersected by that rectangle. And that's really the same illusion when we put a pencil in water. You ever notice that, how it kind of juts off to the side, and it looks like they're two different separate pencils, but really they're not. In all reality, they're not. But that intersection of the rectangle over the line makes it appear, makes us perceive that the line is split, that they're not connected, right? That these two lines are not connected. But we know it's one individual line. All right, here's another one. So this is another illusion, and this is to see if the sender circle is the same size, right? And we know that they're the same size, but whenever there's a pattern surrounding it, in this case on the right side, the larger circles, it makes us perceive that the inner circle is smaller on the right side. When really, in all reality, they're the same size as two center circles of each figure. All right, here's another one. Molar illusion. So many people perceive that the line at the top, the figure at the top, the line is actually shorter. When in reality, they're both the same size, these two lines. Okay, just makes us perceive that this one's a little bit bigger as it juts out further with the figure. That one's interesting. Whenever they showed this illusion to the Zulu tribe in Africa, they appeared that actually that this line is a lot larger. Everyone selected this line is a lot larger than this line up here, but obviously that goes with their culture, which we'll talk more about and you'll read about towards the end of this chapter after this lesson. This one's a good one too. Zollner illusion. Okay, and this is to show that these lines here are straight up and down, that they don't tilt. But for us, it makes us perceive that these lines are actually tilted, that they're not straight up and down. And that's obviously with the perception of these lines jutting downwards to the left, downwards to the right, downwards to the left. But these lines are actually straight up and down. But it doesn't seem that. You guys all see those illusions? Sarah, do you see that? Straight up and down lines?
I don't, it doesn't look like all the other ones. I don't know. I just see them.
Oh, you don't see that they're slanted? Yeah, these lines here.
I mean, I'm just looking at it as a whole. I'm not, like, when I look at individual ones, I already think that
Yeah.
it just looks like little trees.
Yeah, they do look like little trees. But these lines are actually straight up and down. Doesn't it look like they're tilted off to the side a bit? No? For me, it does. Kind of looks like this is leaning towards the right.
When I think I look at it, I'm just focusing on that middle line. So it looks,
Oh.
I don't know that I'm intentionally doing it, but it just, I don't know.
Yeah. So the figure in ground, you're really focusing on that figure. Okay, you're blocking out the background. This is a visualization of those lines. You see that they're tilted, Campbell? No?
Yeah, I think it's
Oh, all right. Oh, okay. Never mind that. But that's part of Gestalt Psychology. All these different figures or principles of Gestalt Psychology, which we're going to go over here now. Oh, so here are another illusions. Okay, kind of looks like there's more pieces to this. There's actually, it looks like the centerpiece is not even there. Right? It's not connected. I think that's a cool illusion. I'm sure you've seen that one before, or you read it in the textbook. What's that?
So those type of
Yeah. That always messes me up too. This one's a pretty good one too with the elephant. Looks like he's missing a foot there, right? He's missing a foot, and one of the foot's actually, one of his foot is kind of right here. Kind of looks like he's floating one. He's missing one here in the back end. Oh, that illusion messes with me a lot. This foot's way out, God knows where. Looks like underneath his head. Oh, that's messing with me. Here's another one. Oh, what do we see here? What do we see? I see a face. Yeah? Can't really see a face? No? Just a bunch of squiggly lines?
spell something.
Yeah, it does spell something.
Oh.
Yeah, there you go. Oh, is that what you saw first?
Yeah.
Okay. I saw the face first, but I do see the liar as well. Nice, good. Did you not see liar at first, Booker? You didn't see it? No, okay. I had to really focus on it. I actually had to read the description when I put it up. Like, what am I missing here? It says a red liar. It's like, oh, okay, I see it now. But I see a face. Okay, 2 eyes, nose, and then the mouth and chin, his neck. But yeah, liar, good. All right, here's another one. I think this one's interesting. What do we see here? What do we see? Anna, what do you see? You don't know? Campbell, what do you see?
Woman's face.
I see a woman's face. Yeah. Okay, good. Booker, what do you see? Woman's face. Sarah?
I feel like it's two pictures. You can see, like, if you focus on the light, you see the face, but it almost looks like a silhouette of like a person.
Yeah, what do you see though? You see the woman's face, but what else?
Looks like a guy just sitting there.
It's a guy playing a saxophone.
Oh, I thought it was a guy smoking a pipe. He's sitting there.
What? Smoking a big old pipe here, huh? Okay, I guess I can see that too. But keeping it G-rated here. Saxophone, playing a saxophone. Here's like a cartoon figure playing saxophone. What do you see, Hannah?
The bottom piece of the saxophone looks like his foot.
This piece here?
Yeah.
Oh, maybe dancers. Okay. Smoking a pipe and dancing. Okay. I see a saxophone, but yeah, I can see the smoking the pipe and dancing around. But yeah, the woman's face. Good. And then the last one here. This one always throws me for a whirl. What do we see here? I'm going to give you like 2 seconds to focus on it. Okay, that's enough time. Sarah, what do you think? What do you see? Okay, all right. So a younger woman with her face turned to the side. All right, so that's what I see. Her jawline, you can see, especially her nose. All right,
It's like
okay.
Cruella de Vil. That's what I thought it was.
Wait, which one do you see?
Have you ever watched the movie 101
Yeah.
Dalmatians? It feels
Yeah.
like Cruella de Vil.
So you see her turning to the side though?
You see like all the, yeah, it just looks like a jacket. And I thought it was like her face and then like shoulders jacket. You know what I mean? Like it almost looks, it reminds me like a fur coat.
Yeah, but do you see? Oh, okay. There's actually two. There's 2 faces at a time. There's 2 women.
I only see them.
You only see the one. It'll work, can?
Yeah. I hit the back end.
All right, I'm gonna check it out then. Thanks, buddy. What do you see, Campbell?
No, just the lady like looking back over her shoulder.
Okay. See, Sarah, I think you see the other one, the older lady, the older complexion lady. She has like a nose here.
No.
Here's her chin.
Oh, ew. Now I
Oh,
see it.
no.
Oh, yeah, now you see it.
Ah,
Now you see it. Okay. Okay. I guess this would be your.
that is not what I was thinking.
Yeah, I'm dying.
All I think of
Here's her eye, the other eye. Oh man, it's scary, isn't it? But yeah, then you see the younger girl kind of looking over her shoulder. Campbell, that's what you saw, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Not
Yeah,
that
I
old
saw
lady.
Oh, you see the old lady now?
Yeah, I see it now, but I did not see that.
If you think of like the younger woman, it almost looks like the coat and like the thing. I thought of like
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
did not think of like the old lady one's scary.
Yeah, she has a coat on. She's
What
looking
the
off in
heck?
the distance. But yeah, the old lady. Oh, that's Corella DeVille right there, huh?
That's a massive nose.
Yeah, it is. The big old schnoz on her. All right, so I already kind of talked about this illusion already, the Muller-Lyer illusion with the lines, and it really makes us perceive that this line is smaller, that it is not as large as the one below. Okay, and like I said before, many cultures, which you're going to read about here with depth perception, especially many cultures around the world, it's hard for them to perceive these types of lines and actually see which one's larger. And it's really an illusion for these people, where they cannot perceive certain objects, certain shapes. Okay, we're taught at a young age what rectangles, squares, circles, triangles, you name it, right? And we can fit these in our mind and understand it, especially with our architecture. Okay, our architectural buildings in the United States, totally different than many places all throughout the world. Okay, and they went to Africa and parts of Africa where there wasn't as many developed architectural buildings as what we see today, and they don't understand shapes like we do, and it really throws them off. And it's really truly an illusion for these people where they don't perceive certain lines and certain squares and parallel lines as well. They think they all come together in an intersecting point when we all know that there's parallel lines when we look at a railroad. Okay, and I think it's interesting. Like I said, I think you'll really enjoy the reading. It's really short. There's only like 3 questions to it, but it really describes how cultures around the world perceive things differently. All right, I'm going to skip through. I want to get to the Gestalt Psychology. There we go. So you guys remember talking about Gestalt Psychology, Chapter 1. We view images more as a whole than the sum of its parts. Okay, I think I gave the example of my chair. Okay, we look at the chair, but there's individual parts that make up this chair. The wheels, the legs to it, the arms, the backrest, the headrest, you name it. Okay, and Gestalt Psychology forms perceptual whole that is more than the sum of its parts. And like I said, with our culture especially, we have it pre-wired in our brains to try to really make sense and form and different types of continuity of objects and understand shapes. And many places throughout the world, they don't do that. They don't have breakdown of trying to really compare objects together and try to group objects together, which we're going to talk about now. So pre-wired, like I said, is how we try to understand what objects look like in many places throughout the world. Like I said, okay, they might view this as 4 separate individual lines when we know it looks like a square, right? Looks like a square. Many places, like I said, they might see it as 4 different individual lines, but we know it as a square. And in our culture, we learn at a very young age of different types of shapes and grouping these lines together to make an understanding as a whole rather than individual parts. And this really goes back to nature versus nurture, right? Okay, we learn these things, right? We learn we learn our understanding of grouping objects together and making sense of even our perception of these objects. And like I mentioned, places all throughout the world, they don't view these objects like we do. They don't have names for these objects. They don't have understanding of certain perceptions. Okay, and that really builds off of that understanding of this nature versus nurture, where we learn and understand different, especially all throughout the world, differently how to perceive certain things. All right, so figuring ground. Okay, figuring ground. I think I may have talked about this before. I know I showed this picture, the vase and the 2 faces. But figure is a part of the pattern that commands attention, that stands out. And this picture really does a great job at focusing our attention on the two faces or the vase. And then ground is a part of the pattern that does not command attention and is placed in the background. Okay, so figure and ground. How can we resemble figure and ground with sound? How do we do that? So this is with visualization, obviously, but how do we understand figure and ground with sound? Sarah?
Like something you choose to focus on. I think the example is like, well, for me at least, I think this is a good one. Like in the factory, it's really loud.
Yeah.
There's so many machines going on at once, but we play music at the same time.
Yeah.
And like, even though there's so many other noises, if I focus on the music and listen to it, that's all I hear.
Yeah.
If that's all I hear.
Good job. So we can select our attention towards a certain sound. They call that the cocktail effect, cocktail party effect, where it's literally in the name of it. Where if you're at a party, obviously you're going to focus your attention on someone who's talking to you, who you're having a conversation with. There's many different conversations going around you, like you said, music, but you're going to block out that stimulus and focus on the conversation that you're having with that person, with a friend, rather than listening to music that's in the background or listening to other people talk, conversations in the background. Okay, we can use a figure and ground for sound as well. All right, real quick, sorry guys. Closure, okay, filling in the blanks. And closure is just, like I said, if there's a break in certain lines, and we know for objects especially what they're supposed to be, we can picture. Even though that there might not be a continuation of these lines, if there's breaks in a certain shape, we can still depict what that shape is. And I'm sure you've seen these examples before with closure. And here's an example of closure, filling in the blanks. Okay, I'm sure you see this, these images before. We know this is a triangle, and that's what closure is. Okay, here's another triangle. Here's circles, obviously, that are broken apart, but we know that it's supposed to be a triangle, even though that there's not lines representing what that should be. Triangle, circles. All right, you guys understand that pretty well. Law of similarity, okay? Principle that we tend to group similar objects together in our perceptions, okay? So, do we see rows or columns? So do we see rows? I would probably group it into columns. We have a column of X's, and the next column of O's, next column of X's, next column of O's. But if you wanted to, there's a row of X's and O's, a row of X's and O's, a row of X's and O's. Pretty self-explanatory. So law of similarity, we're grouping objects together for us to make a little bit better sense of it. So I would probably do columns. One column of X's, one column of O's. All right, proximity, very similar to what similarity is, but principle that we tend to group objects together when they are near each other. Okay, when they're closer together. So we probably group X and O together, right, as one grouping, rather than combining this whole line of X's and O's together. I would use the law of proximity. Say there's one group of X and O, there's another X and O group, and we can separate that way. All right, law of continuity. Sorry guys, I'll finish up here. Well, how about I finish up tomorrow? It won't take too long. Law of continuity's principle, we prefer perceptions of connected and continuous figures. Okay, so we know this is going to be a straight line. Although it intersects these two lines, we understand that this would continue on, that this is a straight line, that this isn't just one object in itself. It looks like a trident, I guess you could say. What's up? Yeah, you're all right. Okay, I'll finish up tomorrow. Sorry, guys. And we'll have our sensation boxes. Don't forget, sensation boxes. So again, bring those in beginning of the day. You can leave them in here. Sounds good.